Hello everybody. In this video, we want to learn how to implement a development tool that will help us have a better developer experience. So far, the way that we've been developing the application is a little more like prototyping, where we actually importing the libraries to the CDN and just to show the functionality, and we set up a really quick server with live server inside Visual Studio. And that way the application was a little bit like they say like that, but it's that works for prototyping purposes. It's not a real scenario, a real way to do it. The way to do that is we actually need to have a development server that will help us troubleshoot. It will help us render the application itself. It give you extra capabilities and functionalities, and we allow us to build the final package the way that it will be distributed in production. What does that mean? That mean that it will take the JavaScript section and it will tree shaking pretty much tree shaking, remove everything that was not used, and just import the JavaScript that was used during the project, and that's the code that is going to be producing, is going to be compiled on production. So that will help us have a smaller footprint and faster application. Those you don't need to import everything in if you actually not using it. And we're going to implement it through Vue and Tailwind, and that will help us a lot. And the tool that we're going to be using is the one that you see in your screen. It's called Vite. This Vite next generation front-end tooling is from the same creator from Vue.js, and the application is actually really good, really cool. You need to have Node.js, of course, installed on your computer in order to use it, and I will guide you through the process and the scaffolding. So this is a two-series video. In the first one, we're going to install Vite, show you the different parts, the different sections, and then I will show you how to do cleanup and install Tailwind on top of that. In the second video, we're going to replicate the to-do application in Vue.js inside our Vite development environment, and you will see the benefits for that. So let's get started. I will post the URL of the application, but in order to make it work, it's actually really easy. We click to get started, and we go to here, right there. It's called folding your first Vite project. The pretty cool thing is that we can actually use it for React, for Vue.js, for vanilla JavaScript. There's a lot of benefits in there. You do a lot of compilation, work with TypeScript. You're interested with TypeScript later in the future. We can use it through here. So it's actually really, really cool. And the only things that we need to do is pretty much run this command, and we are ready to go. So let's start. So I have my command prompt on the left. I'm right now already located in my folder where I'm going to be saving all my files. And the only things that I need to do is pretty much copy this and paste it. After I pasted it, I just click enter. I will call the name of my project. Let's call it Vite to do app. Let's call it like that. When you click enter, it will ask you what framework you want to use. We want to use Vue. Remember, we need to remember that. And then we're going to be Vue in JavaScript. This is TypeScript. We are going to select the first one. And that's it. We go inside our project, Vite to do app, and we need to install the dependencies with npm i. Let's execute it just to show you. In order to execute the code is with npm run development dep. npm i means to install dependencies after you are already inside the application, and npm run dep is to run the script called development that will generate the development environment that will run the app itself. If we do that, it will execute really quick, and if we go to localhost, we have our Vue application running. This is a really cool example application where we have some information there, and we have a button that is reactive. Whenever you click it, the count is getting increased. Just simple like that. Let me close it, and let me open in my Visual Studio Code with the code dot inside the folder. I can actually open Visual Studio Code. and this will open the project for me inside here. Now, there are several templates, well, plugins I will recommend you to install. I will recommend you to look for, it was called Bolar before, but I will change the name now. So you will receive something about probably install something. Don't install anything yet. You can install this. I recommend View Language Feature. Before it was called Bolar. And just install it. Right now I already had it installed over here. And this will allow you to have the syntax highlight for Vue.js itself. There's a couple of things that need to be done, and I believe this is pretty much anything, just to start. The second one that I recommend you to install, and because we're going to use later, is Tailwind. And let me load again Tailwind. There you go. And I'll recommend you to install that one. And there are some changes that we need to do in the configuration. You just put the CS validate to false. A quick suggestion string to true. And for this one, we need to add view as HTML. Let me actually show you that. So let me go a little bit slower. In order to open the plugin section for Visual Studio Code, we need to click this extension tab on the left. In there, you will look for Bolar and Tailwind CSS. After you install that one, you can actually do a double click just to keep it there. And you do Control, comma, or Command, comma, depending where you are. And you will open the settings. You look for this section, CSS validate. And I have it by true. Let me change this one to, you can change this one to false, right? I will keep it like that because I have an extra configuration that is working for me. Editor quick suggestions. I go through here and we'll open all this information. So you need to look for that editor quick suggestion. And we have the strings true. Let me look for that one. Actually, I don't have it. So it's going to be really easy to implement. Quick suggestion. And I will put, actually, let me just copy all this. Paste it right here. It should be anywhere. And because I put it in the middle, I just put in a comma. Okay. What else? This one. Tailwind includes language. We look for that one over here. We have plain text HTML by default. We just can add an item. We can put it view HTML. And just in case, let's add the plain text HTML too. There you go. So those are the elements that you need to put over here in order to make it work. So after you have those, you are pretty much ready to go. And let me show you the structure of the Vue application itself. Everything is got rendered inside this index HTML. This index HTML is actually the website that have everything here. If we open it, we can actually see the code. And let me minimize this. And we can see that it's a simple HTML document, and we have a div with the property app, with the ID of an app. Here inside is where everything from Vue.js is going to get imported. The script tag, instead of having everything from Vue, or we're actually importing the main JavaScript, that main JavaScript inside my source directory is where we create the application from Vue. And now things start being a little bit different. We import the property because we are not using the script tag anymore. It is installed. And then we just created the application. We imported the Vue component, and I will show you that in a minute what it is. And we create the application and we mount it in the ID of app. This app is pretty much this one over here. That means that everything that we're going to be using is going to be inserted here. So this index.html, this main JavaScript inside source, and this application view inside source are the most important elements in this structure. Application.view is a new way in order to have view template, so view file. The view extension is for single file component. What it does is pretty much, sorry for that. What it does is pretty much in one file, we can have the JavaScript section at the beginning, the template section in the middle, and the style section at the bottom. That means JavaScript, HTML, and CSS in the same file. That's why it's called single file component. Here, the scope usually of this component is just for every file that we have over here. So we saw in the past where the separation is we have a JavaScript file, we have HTML pages, and we have CSS files. Now, the different sections that belong to a particular part is going to be inside one file because we need to change the scope to components, where every element is going to be a component, or depending how we structure the application, of course. And that component will have his own logic in JavaScript, and probably his own styling, the way that we had it right here. The cool thing about this is that you can see it over here in the script tag, is that we importing a hello world from our component folder. And then in the HTML, we have that weird hello world over here. So what we're doing here is we just create another component. We're doing a custom name, and that came from here exactly. Just to verify that it's actually working, let me remove all the information that we have here, with the exception probably of the button. Let me just keep the button itself, but let me just delete everything inside my template, well, without the message either. And I will save this. After I save it, oh, I need to run it, sorry. So let me just get back to here, and let me do npm run dep in order to run my development environment. And yes, my application got updated, and we'll keep this running on the background. So this way we can actually have this working the way it's supposed to. So this component called hello world, it have props, and we'll see in those in the future. Don't worry. But pretty much we're telling it you're going to import a message that will come as a prop. You have the reference that we saw before from the count, and equals 0 at the beginning. And whenever I click this button, that count is going to be increased by 1. That's why this get increased. This message came from where we actually calling this component. And this component is calling here in the application.view. We're importing the component, and then we call it with the custom prop, as you can see over here. So if we change this to hello there, the text will change to hello there. The pretty cool about this is we can actually recreate the component and put a new message, and we can now have it twice. And each one of those has his own scope for the count variable. This is actually really cool because now instead of writing something several times, we can just replicate something really quick and have it work in the way that it should be. And what is the way that it should be? We need to start working dry. Don't repeat yourself, and that's the component way. We're able to extrapolate a specific logic, a specific design in his own component, and then you will repeat that over and over and over. Okay. So now that we have this, let's actually do the cleanup. I want to clean everything and I want to show you how to do it. So the first thing that I will do, I will close my server, Ctrl C, and you get an out. That's it. And my application view, I will keep the script pretty much alone. The template, I will do a simple h1, hello there, and I will remove the styling because I don't need it. So I will keep it something really, really simple. Let's close this. So let me go through a process here. So we have a VS Code folder. Just keep it as it is. This is from the Visual Studio. Non-modules where everything got installed. Leave it as it is. Don't touch it. The public directory is where we will pull up the public asset. Right now we just have this 5 icon for view. So I will leave it there. Source directory where we have everything that we need. The asset itself will have the image that is going to be dynamically pulled inside the app. So we don't need to have this one right here. So let me delete it for now. Components is just a name where we actually save those components. We are not using this one right now. We can actually delete it. So yes. Application view, we already did a cleanup. Main JavaScript is already there. And that's pretty much it. We're going to keep the rest of the file as it is. Vite config, and we put all the configuration for the Vite server. And we're saying that you need to understand view. And the plugin view is that why it's able to see the view file pretty much. But don't worry much. This video is not about understanding everything and how you're doing it, just to understand what is in there and how to reach it out. Package JSON is where we actually have the name of the app and the different scripts that we can actually run in order to run development environment, to compile, and to run the compilation. Here, all of the dependencies are going to be installed over here, and we're going to list all dependencies. And this dependency, we just have the name here, but it's actually going to be installed inside the modules folder. Right? Package log, don't touch this, is just detail for the npm installation, how it actually works. And that's pretty much it. Let me run this again. Let me do npm run dev. And we have a clean hello there. That means that it's working the way it's supposed to. Now, for the last thing that I want to do, I will look for Tailwind. And now we're going to use not the CDN version, but the Vite version for Vue 3. Vue 3 is the one that we're actually using. So we already have this section done. So we need to install this one over here. So we just copy this. And the way to do it, I will create up in a new terminal in my Visual Studio Code. This will open a terminal in the same directory where I am. So I can actually do install these dependencies. I click enter. This will allow me to have Tailwind working the way it's supposed to without importing everything from there. After we install the dependency, we initially say Tailwind, and that will create two files, the Tailwind config and the post CSS config. Don't worry, those are actually really simple. We just run this command over here, simple as copy and paste, and that will create those two files for us. The way that we actually saw it right here and right here. Perfect. So the post CSS, we are not going to touch it, but we're going to touch the Tailwind one. And we're going to change the push section to this one over here. Right? Just pretty much override. And the second thing that we're going to use, we want to install the mode, and we're going to put JIT over here and a comma. So they will allow us to have mode JIT and the push. That's the only things that we need to do. Then inside our source, we're going to create right-click, new file, and inside that we need to be sure that we're actually inside there. We will call this index.css, and here we're just going to put these three elements. There you go. After we have those elements, we're going to get back to the main JavaScript, and we need to import that index.css file. This will allow us to have Tailwind installed, and if we can see the text really small, that means that it's working. Let's do a quick test. Let's make this a class. Let's make this equal, and let's do font 10, for example. Text 6XL. We save it, and perfect. If we're able to see it like that, that means the application is running the way it's supposed to. So I will stop here, and this is pretty much the introduction on how to have everything there. And now we are going to try to replicate or to do application inside Vue using Vite. So far I hope that you like it. Any question, any doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.